Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Data Validation and Source Documentation Training. My name is Andrea Diaz. I'm the Digital Content Specialist here at WorkSource Georgia, and today I will be assisting Deneen Woodson with this training. So just to give you a quick description of this training will include the types of source documentation required and the process the Office of Workforce Development uses to monitor participants' case files. Additionally, we will discuss the essential components of data validation and demonstrate its practical applications in real-world scenarios. This training will conclude with a live Q&A session, and we're glad you're here. So as to help with connectivity, which you guys don't have to worry about, just keep your cameras off, keep yourself on mute, I'm sorry. And if you have any questions, feel free to enter those in the WebEx chat box. Thank you for letting us know what local area you are tuning in from. And then right after this training, you will receive a survey via email. And with that, I'll be back to talk more, but for now, I'm going to turn it over to Deneen.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the interruption during the music. Thank you, Andrea, for preparing all of that for us. As Andrea had indicated, this is a recorded session. I know that there have been many requests for us to come out and train you individually, but there's only 4 of us, and there's many more of you. And so for now, until we figure out another way to provide more face-to-face training, these recorded sessions are how we're going to have to provide training. They're designed to assist you all with onboarding, to keep you updated when new TIGOs and WIGs are dropped, and then to provide refresher training just in case you in your area struggle with issues that impact how we serve individuals. I also wanted to remind you that whenever you see these, we call them module trainings, they are specifically designed towards adult and dislocated workers. Youth are covered by Jennifer Houston, who should be joining us. So if you have specific questions about youth, then please feel free to reach out to her. Trainings are also continuing to be developed. Because of monitoring, we are only able to host trainings or to provide these recorded trainings throughout the summer months. So we start as early as we can. Of course, we're still at the end part of our monitoring, but we start as early as we can and try to provide at least 1 training per month for the rest of the summer until monitoring begins again. If you have additional monitoring or not monitoring, any additional training requests, we ask that you reach out to your liaison and we will absolutely follow up. We will also be introducing and sharing more information about the other program specialists who are assigned to you individually as liaisons. So as Andrea has indicated, if you have questions during the training, be sure and put those in the jot them down in the chat, and we will follow up later after that. We're having poll questions again this time. And then if we can't answer those questions, we will absolutely get back to you with the formal version of what the response should be, because sometimes you ask very complex questions and we don't want to tell you incorrectly. But we look forward to serving you and to providing you with as much information as possible. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the pre-recorded session on data validation and source documentation. Thank you so much.
Greetings and welcome to our training on data validation and source documentation. We know that you have heard these phrases on a few occasions, especially as it relates to monitoring, so we wanted to ensure that you were aware of the definition and how it impacts each local area specifically. In today's session, we will define data validation and source documentation. We'll discuss the process used in monitoring, and we will provide valuable resources for future reference. We'll also offer an opportunity to practice your skills and ask individual questions. We look forward to an engaging and informative session. So here we go. So why is data validation important? Every local area is evaluated based on its performance according to federal standards. When an application is submitted and entered into the workforce portal, Our data team gathers the necessary information to track each area's progress. Each service code and data element matters. They provide essential feedback to assess performance and determine whether goals are being met. While monitoring is a familiar process, data validation takes it a step further by establishing clear, standardized requirements that every local area must follow to ensure accuracy. For example, adult services can only be provided to individuals aged 18 or older. But how does the state and federal government verify that John is truly an adult? It's data validation. How do they ensure that every area defines adult consistently? Data validation. To confirm eligibility, local areas must provide proof of age or another official document verifying that a participant qualifies as an adult. By doing so, we ensure that every local area is serving only qualified adults and that we are making fair, consistent comparisons across all regions. Data elements must be verified using rigorous quality assurance measures. Data validation ensures that all uploaded information is accurate, reliable, and compliant with federal requirements. Additionally, it helps identify inconsistencies that could otherwise impact performance evaluations, ensuring local areas receive the credit they deserve for their efforts. By prioritizing data integrity and compliance, we strengthen our ability to serve communities effectively while meeting performance expectations. The U.S. Department of Labor, or USDOL, requires regular data validation checks, and there are two main parts to this process. The first is report validation, which ensures that performance data is accurate and trustworthy, and the second is data element validation, which checks that each individual data point meets the required standards. Why do we do this? The goals are pretty simple. To make sure the performance data is correct and meets compliance standards, to catch any errors, anomalies, or inconsistencies, to keep the necessary documentation to hold our programs accountable, and finally, to improve program performance and accountability. By following these validation steps, we're boosting the integrity of our workforce programs and staying in line with federal requirements. The bottom line is, data validation helps local areas stick to state standards. So, how do we make this happen? Before the monitoring process kicks off, the Office of Workforce Development takes a structured approach to make sure we meet all data validation requirements. We review the data validation written procedures to ensure everything lines up with policy and compliance standards. We then train or update our program staff to keep things consistent and accurate. And then we implement the monitoring process by conducting evaluations based on official policies and procedures, which you're aware of. Each local area is expected to also keep written procedures up to date regarding data validation, provide regular training for staff, and continuously review documentation and conduct evaluations to stay in compliance. By following these steps, we strengthen the integrity of data validation and make sure our performance reporting is accurate. Here's an important reminder. Data validation and the intake process are two different things. TIGO 1023 lays out clear guidance on developing policies and procedures that cut down on unnecessary administrative barriers for customers. Too often we get buried in phone calls and paperwork, so focused on checking the boxes that we lose sight of the bigger picture. The more hurdles we create, the harder it is for individuals to access the services they need. Yes, documentation is important, but it should never slow down case progression. You know the old adage, strike while the iron is hot? If an individual is highly motivated to work, encourage and support the effort. Case managers should prioritize urgent participant needs instead of piling on extra paperwork. Of course, some wait times are unavoidable, but we should always strive to minimize delays and keep support timely. TIGO 1023 specifically tackles eligibility verification issues, including Social Security numbers and selective service authorization. Missing these documents shouldn't automatically block someone from receiving services. Sounds a little weird, right? But just because Johnny doesn't have his Social Security card today doesn't mean he's ineligible. It just means we may need to help him obtain it, because we all know that he'll definitely need it for employment later. If you want more details, check out this TIGA. So let's now walk through the actual process. Data validation is conducted by a program specialist 1 week prior to monitoring. The WorkSource Georgia portal generates a random sample of records for each program. Once selected, a mapping worksheet automatically pulls testing data. Like monitoring, local areas are not notified in advance about which records will be reviewed. Let me repeat that. Local areas are not notified in advance. If the requested data is incorrect or missing compared to what the local area has uploaded in the specified document or case note, a reporting error is recorded. If the pass or fail rate exceeds the 5% reporting error threshold, the program must submit an action plan to address the inconsistencies. Data validation pass and fail rates are reported to local areas as part of the monitoring process and also submitted to our data team for ETA, or Education and Administration reporting. TIGA 2319 Change 2 updates the list of documents we can use to verify required participant information. Bottom line, it's important to make sure the best possible, meaning the most authoritative source documents, are uploaded into the WorkSource Georgia portal. When it comes to verifying participant details, we rely on 4 main types of documentation, also known as the allowable means of verification. Let's break them down. Think of case notes as a narrative of the participant's journey. A monitor should be able to read the notes and fully understand the case without needing extra context. They can be paper or electronic statements by the case manager. They need to include key details to show participant engagement and progress. The goal? Tell the full story in a clear, chronological way. They must include the participant's status, the date the information was obtained, and the case manager's name. The second is cross-match verification. This is all about double-checking info against another trusted source. Basically, we need to back up what's in the system with outside records. Some examples include pay stubs to confirm employment and income, school records to verify education levels, and enrollment confirmations. These could be official documents like a report card or online records that show a participant's current status. At the end of the day, good documentation keeps everything running smoothly and ensures we're following the rules while supporting participants effectively. There are 2 types of electronic records: participant source documents and participant service records. Participant source documents are maintained in the portal as official documentation, while participant service records are generated and maintained in the portal by the local area. These include information like enrollment in Title III services. The final type of source documentation is self-attestation. It is a written or electronic declaration of information for a specific data element. Remember, the document must be signed and dated by the participant. It can be received by email, text, or unique survey responses as an electronic signature, which of course is easiest for our younger participants. And the submission must be generated by and traceable to the participant. Here are some of the key program elements that program specialists check during data validation. These, along with many others, must be verified during the review. Some elements are automatically verified as a case manager uploads and completes information in the system. Others require supporting documentation, like uploaded files plus case notes that explain the details. Now let's talk about one data element that often causes confusion for local areas: recognized credentials. Before we dive in, let's make sure we're clear on what a credential actually is. Credentials are defined as industry-recognized certificates like a CDL, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC license, or a welding certification. Credentials can also be an apprenticeship certificate of completion or a state or federal license like a licensed practical nurse or LPN, emergency medical technician, EMT, or a commercial driver's license, CDL. A recognized credential can also be a college degree. Note that it is prudent to ensure that the degree is in line with your area's high demand occupations list. According to ETA, general work readiness certificates do not count as credentials. This includes basic hygiene, general safety training, CPR, work readiness certificates, and food handling certificates. Although these certifications are often required for entry-level jobs, they don't demonstrate measurable technical or industry-specific skills. They can assist the individual with obtaining employment, but they aren't recognized industry-wide or considered eligible credentials. So let's get back to data validation. In this example of a randomly selected case, the case manager reported that for element 1800, the participant earned a credential, which was listed as a diploma or degree. However, after reviewing the uploaded documents and case notes, the data validation reviewer found that the credential wasn't actually a degree at all, but an occupational skill. This element failed because the uploaded source documentation was incorrect. The participant either didn't earn a degree or the degree wasn't uploaded into the case. The data validation reviewer would then reach out to the local area to inform them of this error. If you aren't sure of the definition or types of source documentation for each element, TEGL 2319 Change 2 has you covered. It provides a clear definition and instructions to determine recognized credentials. Here is an excerpt on educational credentials. This TEGL also provides instructions and the types of source documentation that can be used. If any information other than these verifications are uploaded as a recognized credential, the element will fail. I would encourage you to take a look at the TEGL should you have questions regarding the data elements, their definitions, and types of allowable source documentation. It may be lengthy and originally intimidating, but you can never go wrong with this resource. Remember, TEGL 2319, Change 2. Let's get back to how data validation is accomplished. After logging on to the WorkSource Georgia portal and accessing administrative reporting, the data validation reviewer or program specialist obtains a random electronic data sampling. When validating data, the participant's unique individual identifier number is used from the data validation sample to obtain the participant information. In the WorkSource portal, under the Programs tab, the reviewer clicks on the WIOA application to view the starting dates, participation dates, and exit dates. This information lays the foundation of the entire review. The Document tab is then used to find appropriate uploaded documents and dates of service valid. You'll find the participant's document verification under the Documents tab. Keep in mind that each local area uploads their files a little differently, but when the information is well organized, like having clear labels for document locations and dates, it makes the entire review and case management process much smoother and more efficient for both the local area staff and the monitoring team. We appreciate the extra effort you take to ensure that your files are clearly labeled and accurate. Reducing unnecessary replication of documents and ensuring that they are legible keeps interactions and questions to a minimum. So this concludes our data validation training. I would encourage you to regularly refer to the TEGL to determine the most suitable source documentation. TEGL 2319 Change 2 is your best friend when it comes to data validation. Make sure that you review it and share it with your staff. Ensure that all documentation is appropriate, legible, and labeled. If we can't find, read, or understand your documentation source, that element may fail the data validation process. Remember the difference between source documentation and eligibility requirements. A participant can still be eligible or qualify with self-attestation in some instances, or with a little extra support from the local areas in other instances. Don't create more barriers to service and blame source documentation. Routinely and randomly check case files to ensure staff understand and are accurately validating data. Remember to validate the data, document the source, and evaluate the process. We know that you'll never enjoy the monitoring process, but keeping these best practices in mind will make for a more successful overall data validation experience. Thank you for listening. As a bonus, here are some extraordinary resources to assist you with this training information. As always, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the programs team at wioaprograms@tcsg.edu for support beyond this training. As always, we are here to help.
So the poll questions are designed to bring up situations that may occur in your local areas and to help you to understand nuances that may also occur. Could you please wave at me so that I can ensure that you have access to answering the poll questions? We're going to ask the question and then allow you to respond. Look, there's one wave I didn't get to see the name. It looked like it was Kiana. Miyoshi, hi Miyoshi. Carol, Suzette. Okay, so I can see that you, hey Montevia, I can see that you all have been able to open the responses. So we're going to get busy on the poll questions. Some are very easy and some are a little bit more complex. But again, we're also going to have a Q&A after the poll questions so that you can ask individual questions. So let's start with number one, true or false? True, of course, is thumbs up. Somebody's already answering. False, of course, is thumbs down. If an individual is unhoused, or what we have more recently, that's the new name for homeless, and cannot locate or provide identification, she or he is not eligible for Title I services. True or false? Let's see what you say. We're all saying false. Okay, next slide. And the answer is, drum roll, you are correct. It is false. If an individual is unhoused and cannot locate or provide identification, it doesn't mean that they're ineligible. The case manager should limit the collection of data validation documents to only the items required for eligibility. Remember in TIGO 1023, it talks about reducing administrative barriers, meaning that we want the individual to be able to keep moving forward. And so if there's if they said that they had lost their ID or that they can't find their social security card, it doesn't mean like go back and come back when you have it. We can continue with the eligibility process or even the services, but part of their IEP or part of the steps of them continuing are for us to provide as much assistance as we can in order to secure those documents. Because of course, when a individual goes to work, which is our goal, they absolutely need their social security card and identification. So let's begin that as part of the process when as part of the eligibility process. Again, TIGO 1023, reducing administrative barriers, also addresses information about the social security number. You think, well, if they don't have a social security number, they can't receive services. Not true, and I won't go into the details, but please check that for the eligibility for social security numbers, even the other eligibility requirements, because there are some exceptions and rules. Well, I don't want to say exceptions, but there are some rules that will help us move the case forward.
Yep.
100%. Okay, and question number 2.
Deneen, I'm just going to interject here because I think we're going to have to pivot a little bit. If folks want to respond true or false, please do so in the chat, because I don't think the settings of the current webinar that we have set up is allowing for people to respond with a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's just allowing people to raise their hands. So if you guys could respond true or false in the chat, that way we can see what your answers are that way. Okay, moving to question 2.
Okay, and I'll let you monitor the chat, Andrea, yes, for true or false. Mm-hmm. We won't call you out, please don't.
No, we won't.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, during monitoring, compliance staff will review monitoring protocols to ensure that program staff are implementing the written data validation procedures. True or false? She seems like she's always first.
A lot of people are saying true in the chat. In fact, everyone is saying true. No one said no one said false.
No one would dare say false.
Okay.
Okay, next slide. That is absolutely true. Even though the program specialists are required to follow standard policies and procedures, each local area has to have their own policies and procedures regarding data validation. So we will be looking for those during the monitoring process. So the answer is true. You have to have your monitoring protocols in place. Great job, 100%. Question number 3. Does proof that an individual applied for TANF count as source documentation? That was a little bit trickier. What do you think?
Most people are saying no.
We have a few no's, some yes.
Some yeses, mainly no's.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. The answer is true, thumbs up, and that was a little trickier. A TANF application is only considered valid for designating an individual as low income once it has been officially approved, meaning that basically, in order to establish low income, self-attestation can be, so we don't care if the application is incomplete or complete. If an individual says coming in for eligibility, that they applied for TANF, then that's considered self-attestation, meaning that they're low income. But for the low income status to continue with services, then there has to be verification on file. And that's what TIGO 2319 changed to again. Okay, and I'm sure that I asked questions because I feel like I didn't make that clear. But let's go to the next question. Question 4, yes or no? Can an individual with none, nada source documentation receive Title I services? Yes, thumbs up, no, thumbs down. No source documentation, whatever. They come in from off the street. Can they receive Title I services?
See a little bit of both.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Looks like about 50%.
I would
Don't be
say,
afraid.
yep.
We're not going to track you.
Yeah, there's no tracking. This is a learning opportunity.
Okay, next slide, Andrea. This was a trick question. The answer is maybe. There are source documentation requirements that apply. Look at Miyoshi. There are source documentation requirements that apply to certain elements meant to ensure data is reliable and accurate. Follow the eligibility requirements of the program and consider self-attestation when applicable. There are exceptions, like as I said before, to Social Security numbers and work authorizations. So if an individual comes in and they say that they were in a fire, everything was burned up, all they have are their burnt clothes on their back, are they eligible for service? And the absolute answer is they might be. It just depends on how you document, what you're saying, what you can get the source documentation that you can obtain from them, even if you have to work with them to absolutely secure some of the documents. We may have to go back to TANF or to their school or to wherever, but it's our responsibility to help them get through the process. So please check out TIGO 1023 because it does provide you with some foundations for helping individuals who don't have the required documents become eligible and receive services. It's called the Reducing Administrative Barriers, and it's designed just for those reasons, to keep you and us, the local areas and the individuals from becoming frustrated with the process. Okay, next one, true or false? The data validation reviewer will formally notify local areas regarding participant cases that contain element errors.
Okay, everybody's saying true so far.
Okay, so it looks like the majority of them are true. Next slide. And you are absolutely right. The data validation reviewer will provide feedback and any necessary corrective action to the responsible management and staff during their week of monitoring. So how it happened, what occurs is during your week of monitoring, the data validation, a person is assigned to data validation. We have one person, one of the program specialists working on data validation, and the other is doing the monitoring. A week before we begin monitoring, so if your data validation, I'm sorry, if your monitoring begins, let's say the week of the 7th, the data validation actually begins the week of the 1st. And so we generate the information. It's randomly generated by the system. We don't pull samples. I'm sorry, we do pull samples. And then as we reviewing the information and ensuring that the coding is correct, that the information is correct, that the case notes are correct, once the entire review has been done, then the data validator will reach out to the local area, whether it's the director or the programs manager, and say, look, for the most part, you did great, but here are some anomalies or some issues that you may want to look at. And we have another question regarding it, so I won't go any further because we'll talk about it again in a few minutes. So if you answer true, you are correct. True or false? If the total number of errors does not exceed 5 errors, the local area will successfully pass data validation. True or false? This one's a little tricky too. When I said tricky, I saw the thumbs go down. Okay, so next slide. This one is false, and it's the 5 is correct, but it's not 5 errors. It's 5% of the sample size. And so depending on how many individuals or participants you serve, that's how many, there's a formula of how many cases that we pull that are randomly sampled. And so when we review all those cases, if there are 5%, not 5 errors, 5% of all of those data validation elements are incorrect, then the individual or the local area will fail the data validation for this period. The sample size is based again on the total program participant count. So you can have more than 5 errors if you serve more than a certain amount of people. That was kind of tricky as well. Now, next one, this is the last one. And this is an issue that we have had several questions on, so we threw this in at the end. If a credential was earned from a local technical college on May 3rd and received by the local area on June 3rd, June 3rd should be the date that is uploaded into the WorkSource portal. True or false? I see all thumbs down or false.
Yes.
What are you saying, Andrea?
Mainly false. Yeah.
False. Okay, let's see the answer. And the answer is false. When recording the receipt of credentials, the date the credential was earned must be documented in the portal. And a good case note will assist. Sometimes you don't get the credentials till much later. Then that's not what the date that we're looking for. We're looking for when it was earned. That's when the account begins. And so our documented case notes will again facilitate this process. So make sure that you record when the element or the credential was earned, not when it was received. Okay, that ends our questions. I hope that you all did well. It looked like you did, and I hope that this was good information. I know that data validation is, I want to say it's a new issue, but actually it has been done. It has been being completed by our data teams. And so what we've done is pulled it down to programs and included it into monitoring so that we can provide feedback and training when there's anomalies or issues that need to be addressed by the local areas. There is also some a few announcements that I want to share with you all. Today is the day that the source documentation was, not yet,
Oh,
Andrea.
sorry.
It's okay. Today is the day that the source documentation was supposed to be submitted. I intentionally put it off to today so that if anyone had any questions specifically about it, that we could talk about it after we're finished here during their live Q&A sessions. The source documentation is basically, as I explained to the directors on the local area call, is we want to ensure that the WorkSource portal matches TIGO 2319 so that the selections are the same, so that when we're doing data validation, we're sure that what we're receiving is in line, or what you have to select from in the portal is what's in line with data validation and the TIGO. And so if you haven't already submitted those, thank you for those who have. Please go ahead and make sure that you get that in today. I'll extend the deadline to tomorrow if you need for me to, but we need to go ahead and get that to data so that they can have the portal changed, and that takes about a month. It won't be changed until all of monitoring is done, and it will probably begin in the summer. And when the change occurs, then of course we will announce it to you of the changes of the selections in each of the data elements. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage you to reach out to your liaisons. We are absolutely here to help. The responsibilities for the programs team is monitoring, training, and technical assistance. Those are our three cores. Of course, we do much more, but those are the three stools that we stand on. And so I wanted to take this time to introduce you to the program specialists. Now you can go. Thank you. Our first is Jaleesa Martin. She is our most senior monitor, and her liaison, she represents Georgia Mountains, Cobb, Fulton, Macon-Bibb, Middle Georgia, Middle Flint, and Southern. Then there's Montivia. She represents or is a liaison to Northwest, City of Atlanta, DeKalb, Three Rivers, Northeast, and Lower Chat. And then our newest program specialist, who you probably have not met, is Rosanna Urillo. And I specifically said her name because everyone mispronounces it, even me. It's Rosanna Urillo, and she will be the liaison for ARC, CSRA, Heart of Georgia, Southwest, and Coastal. Here is their contact information. And if you have questions specifically that you probably don't want to put on the programs, or it's just one of those little things that you're not sure of, please feel free to reach out to them. We've assigned them so that they can get to know you, you can get to know them, you can ask as many questions as you want per day, not too many because we're still doing monitoring and training on one day. But the goal is not to judge. The goal is to absolutely support you in what you do. Our goals are the same, is to provide services the best that we can and the most accurate that we can. So they're available to you. And if you can't reach out to them or they're not responding, please let us know. That's why we have the general questions mailbox, WIOA programs at tcsg.edu. And all four of us are connected to that box so that if one of them or one of us are on vacation or on leave, then someone can respond. Absolutely. One of the other announcements is that we have a local workforce development area call that programs team has taken responsibility for, that is now facilitating. If you have individuals with, of course, the managers and you, of course, get your manager's permission, we'd love for you to join us every second and fourth Thursday at 3 p.m. This provides updates and information that will keep you in the loop of the changes that are going on here at OWD. If you want someone added to that list, please reach out to me at the email address below. And then finally, as I said earlier, we're trying to host a monthly training. The trainings are going to be scheduled every third Thursday of the month at 10 o'clock. And so the next one that is being scheduled is for, let me make sure, objective assessments and IEPs. During monitoring, we're seeing that neither the objective assessment or the IEP, the case managers are struggling creating them, using them, understanding what they're for. And so we want to make sure that the case managers understand that the IEPs are a roadmap, a living document, and a contract for the participants in the local area. Some are just checking it off and putting go to work as a bus driver. And that is not an IEP. And so we want to give you the details on how to make, how to create with your participant excellent IEPs, and that will assist us as we are doing the monitoring. Again, if you need help with anything, please feel free to reach out. And it has been a joy to get to see and know you all individually, and we're looking forward to our next training season this summer. So if I don't see you before then, have a great rest of your day, the rest of your week, and the beginning of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Deneen. Yes, and so as a reminder, this PowerPoint, this presentation will be emailed out right after this training. You'll also receive a survey where you can give us feedback and let us know how we did. And as a reminder, yes, please email weoaprograms@tcsg.edu with any questions you may have so that the team can get those answered for you. And with that, we will conclude today's training. We hope that everyone has a great rest of your day.